Welcome back, DIYers. Now in the fence post video, towards the end I alluded to the fact that I had a couple issues that I had to fix, but I wasn't going to tell you what they were. Well, this is it. I've got a couple of areas, this is the worst, where my concrete on top here was a little thick and my stinger or vibrator didn't quite get this filled, and you can see there's some rebar showing right in here and then the rest of this hole. So I don't want to leave that, and the reason is because I don't want water getting in here, rusting that and causing this to break, spoil, crack, come apart down the road. So we're going to show you how we're fixing this. But the first thing I've got to do is you've got to clean the surface really well. So I'm just taking a brush and some just plain water, no soap. I don't want any soap on here. I'm cleaning this off. I'm cleaning the top because I don't want anything falling from the top into my work. I'm scrubbing here really well, get any loose stuff out. So I got a wire sticking out. Actually, it's a piece of the wire mesh that's sticking out probably just a hair too far for what I like. So I'm gonna take my hammer here and just bend that down below level. Then I'll clean any loose material up. So I'm gonna let this dry a minute and we'll do the next part. Now, while that's drying, let me show you a couple of other areas that we're gonna fix. Now, well, it poured pretty good and that ain't bad, but you see all these little pits in there and these little hollow spots? I'm gonna patch those, show you how I'm doing that. And then I've got this one, same thing. There's a little piece of rebar and a piece of wire showing right there. This one also had to do with, I had my mix just way too dry in order to get it to flow together and seal up real nice. So we're gonna patch that too. All right, that's dried out enough. Now, I'm using concrete bonded adhesive. I got this at the local home center. And this helps the new patch stick and hold really well. It's just kind of a milky, semi-creamy substance. And you just need to take a brush. You can use a roller. You can use a sprayer even to put this stuff on. They say you can even make it up as a slurry. Just add a little Portland in there and make a slurry and put it on. But I'm just gonna paint it on. And I'm gonna make sure I get down in these holes really well. So I want a good adhesion. And around to the side. Now we'll apply our patch as soon as that's getting dry. What I'm using for my patch is this structural patch material. It's basically Portland with some sand and some other stuff that they don't tell you it is, but it gives you a really high strength, and it has that on the back of the pail here. This is different than just concrete patch material. Concrete patch material is designed to be thin layered, whereas this can go into thicker layers over 2 inches. So that's why I picked this. And then they tell you only mix up what you're going to use in 15 minutes. Depending on what you want to do, depends on how much water you add. If you want it a paste, obviously you put less water. So I don't want a lot of water in here. Take my brush here to get some water, then my little concrete tool to mix it up with. It's better to not have enough water than to have too much, because then you got to go back and add more cement patch to soak up the water. And I'm going to mix this semi-thick, but yet at the same time a little loose. You'll see what I mean. Now, I'm going to take the material and I'm really going to push hard to get the holes, air bubbles, all out. And get it packed in there really tight. Now, what I'm going to use is a simple grout float. Just going to put some material on the grout float. Sorry, my battery went dead there and I didn't have time to go change it and get back to this before it's set up. But I took 1/2 of my form for this particular block right here, because I got them all labeled, and put it against here real hard and firm and filled over here. Because otherwise, fill in here, it come out this end, fill here, it come out this side. So this helps hold in place while I filled that and can push it in really hard and get it packed in there. I'll let this sit about an hour or so, and then I'll pull that off and we'll see how well it looks. But while I was at it, I went ahead and smoothed out this side, as you can see here, and got rid of all those holes. That grouting float that I'm using works beautifully. Okay, we'll do this part here. And all these little holes are just air bubbles that didn't get the concrete, the slurry to fill in. So that's what those are. But it's basically a rinse and repeat. We use our bonding agent to smear on here, kind of like lathering up the old way, the straight edge. Some of you have no idea what I'm talking about. I'll go ahead and do this other side. I'm just doing these outer two edges because they're going to show. You'll see, again, you'll have to subscribe to see why only these two edges will show. Okay, we'll let that start drying. I will get my mix made up. As you can see, I don't have much powder in there. Now on these, it doesn't take much. Like I said, you can put a little on your trowel like this and smear it like that. Then just take your grout float. You don't have enough? Well, what do you know? I got more. Same thing, because of those holes, you want to work it in, just like you're doing grout. If you know anything about that, kind of go in different directions to get it worked in, just like that. Now when that dries, I'll come back and show you how nice it looks. I find it easier to put on a grout float and put it in and smoosh it into the holes. I got one more deep hole to fix. I'll show you that one, and this project will be done. Okay, I've probably got enough material mixed up to get this one done. And again, there was wire and rebar showing. Now for this big crack, I am going to use my spatula to get some in there, because I'm pushing it really hard to get it in there and get the air out. Some of you are probably thinking, well, this is ruining your grout float. Well, if you use a sanded grout, it's probably nothing worse than this. It's just sand in Portland. And this is fine sand that's in here. It's not like your beach sand. Just like that, it's gone. I got enough to do this front edge. I'm only doing this front edge because of the big holes. This works so slick. And just like that, the patch is done. Okay, I'm gonna let all these set up and dry a little bit, and we'll go back and look at them. And for you haters out there, you can see it didn't hurt my grout float one little bit. Okay, it's been a good hour since we did this. You can see it's still a little wet where it's deep, where the biggest part or the deepest part is, but solid as a rock. Now this has got a little rough texture to it because that board was put on there, but I got you a front view. That looks good. Front side of that looks good. And we got this surface here. Those dark spots aren't holes. That's where the holes are, and it just hasn't dried yet. See, it's nice and smooth. See how smooth that is? And again, where the dark areas are is where it hasn't dried completely. Finished surface, unfinished surface. That's one of the first ones I did. And that thing looks absolutely beautiful. So even if your concrete pour doesn't go the way you planned and you got some blemishes or areas you need to fill, there's a fix for it, just like I did. And once this dries completely, it's gonna be very hard. I mean, it already is hard. When it's all said and done and there's dirt up there, you'll never know that I had to do that. So if you want to see some other over-the-top concrete stuff, I'll have a link down here for a video you go see. Until our next project, happy DIYing.